Hey, all praise to Yahweh, Bashim Yahushua, Devon, Apostle Elder Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to your Akim out there, teaching the truth in sincerity. Peace unto you. Shalom to you, Akim. And real quick, so I was driving the other day, and it's a lot of cornfields here in the middle of Missouri, and I just thought to myself, well, the Spirit gave me a revelation because you got a lot of farmers here. You got a lot of people who they own a lot of farmland, and their only job is they grow corn or soybeans or some other kind of crops, or like collard greens or some other crops. Could be rice, could be cattle feed corn, which is not the same as corn we eat. Could be wheat, but they own farmland. They grow that stuff, and they have all these big machines, and you have a lot of these farming machinery corporations out here. Salakia, the name escapes me of some of them, but basically that's the only way of making money, because they're not in a high they're not in an area where it's a large number of people, it's a large number of factories and anything like that. They're in the middle of Heartland, USA, and that's the only job. And coming up, reading this article, I'm gonna just hop into it. Some quick info. It says the European Union plans to penalize a long list of U.S. goods in retaliation for President Trump's stealing aluminum tariffs, right, that he just issued out. And $247 million worth of Missouri products are on the list. Calculates that 10% of Missouri's exports to the EU. Yeah, because Missouri, I believe the number one export from Missouri is the agriculture, the different crops, and they have a lot of cattle farms and sheep and things like that. And then also, so basically Europe, they got pissed off with the U.S. because of the whole steel and aluminum tariff. They want to charge the EU more money for sending that stuff over here because they want to try to get the U.S.'s aluminum and steel manufacturing on point, but it's not going to get back on point. Because we know this is the end. That stuff it's not going back up. Just on the side note, the United States' days for being the production capital of the world is over. Once they started doing business with China, where they could pay people, 20 cents a day for the same job you want, $200 a day. There's no competing with that. And then there are a million people to take that person's place in China or one of these other poor-ass countries, or it could be South America. There's no competing with that. Americans, we want a union. We want to unionize. We want, you want your 30-minute lunch break, your 2 15-minute breaks or whatever. We got to deal with OSHA. And these other countries, they don't have to do with that. They could just, if you on the job and you drop dead in some of these countries, all they do is they move your body, they bury you. The next day they bring the next guy in. They don't have to pay his family any money or anything like that. So it's hard to compete with that kind of, it's somebody who's willing to go that low basically. And these Americans are feeling in their business, and the EU is feeling, and they're getting pissed off at the U.S. because the U.S. is increasingly coming with tariffs, increasingly coming with new plans to venture into the Middle East, and in the Middle East they're flooding all of these immigrants into the EU. Right? You had that big crisis, the EU crisis, where they're talking about they're coming in and raping women in Europe or whatever. So yeah, and the U.S. is directly fucking over one of its closest allies, the EU, and the different nations in the EU. And like the scriptures say in Revelation, the nations shall hate the whore. The whore that sitteth on many waters is America, aka Babylon. It's the new Babylon. But I'm gonna continue on. Other stuff on the EU hit list that they're planning on penalizing. Let's see, real quick. Sweet corn, kidney beans, rice, peanut butter, cranberries, orange juice, bourbon whiskey, cigarettes, cigars, tobacco. And I was just covering the agricultural stuff, but they got more stuff too. And they got a whole list of stuff. All of it bourbon whiskey, you know, that's an American thing. So they got a couple pages of stuff that they're gonna put tariffs on in retaliation. And like I said, a large part of it is food, is agriculture. And just like have this map, found this article, American Agriculture in 1922, right? This is a pretty cool map. It shows the different trends of agricultural business throughout America. Some places it's cotton, like in Arkansas, they have a lot of cotton. You know, some places it's cattle, some places soybeans and corn, like I said. Different places have different trends. You know, you can cattle, swine, sheep, corn, wheat, oats, rye, barley, oranges and lemons, apples and pears. And notice they got niggas picking the cotton, right? And doing all the field work. Cotton, rice, tobacco, sweet potatoes, sugarcane, turkeys, poultry, celery, dairy, grapes, sugar beets, fish, oysters, peanuts, honey, Irish potatoes, grapefruit and limes, olives. They got lots of turkeys in Texas. Okay, and like I said, Salakia, I should have got this first. Jeremiah 44:12. And I will take the remnant of Judah that have set their faces to go into the land of Egypt, to sojourn there, to stay there temporarily. And they shall all be consumed and fall in the land of Egypt. They shall even be consumed by the sword and by the famine. Yeah, that famine, man, that famine. A lot of people, when they can't eat, it's going to drive them fucking crazy up the wall. Because even now, they're already putting, Salaki, they're already putting chemicals all in your food. Certain fast food restaurants, they got certain chemicals where if you smell the food, you just get a taste for it. Or if you eat it, you know, like they say, bet you can't eat just one. Yeah, because you put fucking chemicals in it to make the brain release certain endorphins so that you become addicted and you fall in love with it. That's why the men of the Lord we're supposed to fast. You know, you should try to fast at least every month, just to just to break out of that mold that they have set for you. Because the flesh is strong. The flesh is strong, but the spirit has to conquer over the flesh, and that's what the men of the Lord preach and teach. But anyway, they shall even be consumed by the sword and by the famine. They shall die from the least even unto the greatest, by the sword and by the famine. And they shall be an execration and an astonishment and a curse and a reproach. And I will punish them that dwell in the land of Egypt, as I have punished Jerusalem by the sword, by famine, and by pestilence. Yeah. So all of these nice, all of these nice green pastures and wonderful prairies and different, things that they grow, all of that is going to go out the window. All of that is going to go bye-bye. All of that is going to dry up. And like I said, most of these people, they couldn't survive one day without eating. They couldn't survive, 10 hours without eating. especially now that, like I said, you got all these demons in this food. It makes your flesh go crazy. So you have to keep cleansing your flesh. You have to keep flushing out different toxins. All of this is going to dry up, just like Egypt. The reason the sons of Israel, the sons of Jacob, even fled to Egypt is because there was a famine, and Egypt had that food stored up. They had all that food, so the Hyksos, the shepherds, they had to go to Egypt, and they had to make a deal under Egypt, become slaves under Egypt, and then eventually, they had us. They made us slaves for real, for real. It's the same thing, and the same thing's gonna happen again. Yeah, because just like it says, the greatness of the United States is founded on agriculture. That's one of the things that helped make us great. And as you can see, that stuff is going downhill. Also due to a lot of our people even going up to the damn 40s were sharecroppers. That was another thing too. A lot of Esau wouldn't allow Israelites to get into for the most part, to get into a trade. So you might have to, if you was in certain regions, you had to be a sharecropper up until like the 30s or the 40s. Like I said, 1840, almost 70% of the American labor force worked in agriculture. America's economy was flatly about agriculture. But then by 2000, barely 2% of the American labor force worked in agriculture. Yep. And then, where's that? Just to show a map, just to give you a sense of where all the farmland and all that stuff is. Yep, all that farmland is in the Heartland, USA. You got some in Cali, some kind of up next to the Appalachian, but all of that stuff is in the Heartland. And when that stuff is cut off and that stuff dries up, is the transportation industry's got all the major cities coming to basically to the Midwest and going back with that food, coming out to the Midwest, going back with that food to these different big cities. These big cities are going to be cut off. Yeah, all these places are going to be cut off. And these people, like I said, they're going to, and the sword too, because you're going to have people killing each other. You're going to have military troops roaming through. You're going to have these people, over a can of fucking, like the apostle said, a can of dog food. These people are going to kill each other. Kill their best friend, their brother. And then another thing, to ramp up, they had to start that genetic modification shit with Monsanto. That's another company that's out here, Monsanto, out in the farmland. And Monsanto, like I said, when you drive by these, I didn't say that, so like when you drive by these different farms, they'll have a sign posted up on what particular strain of genetic modification that they're using from Monsanto. And so Monsanto has their hands in all of that. And it's all kind of chemicals and all kind of shit in the food because they wanted to save money. They had, you're supposed to follow the land Sabbath, but these Edomites, they don't follow that. So what happens is that those locusts or those animals, they'll come one year and they'll eat up all the crops and take away all the stuff. And since the farmer didn't move his stuff around, now he has nothing. So they came up with some genetic modification so that the bugs don't even like to eat, the corn and the different other stuff. But when they eat it, they die or something crazy like that. And they'll say that this man is not the devil. So hey, it just goes to show you, man, it's through his actions, man. This man is the fucking devil. But I'm not. That's about all I. Oh yeah, one last scriptures, of course, Ecclesiastes 12:3. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the windows shall be dark. Yep. And the doors shall be shut in the street when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. And we're seeing all of that. The daughters of music are being brought low. You know, they went from singing and doing operas to mumbling. And the grinding, like I said, the grinding is gonna be low. The grinding, that's the jobs. So these jobs are gonna be brought down. People are gonna be brought against each other with the sword, which we know is the gun. And it's gonna be pretty much every man for himself. And like it says, man, if you don't have that, the strong men shall bow themselves. Because these strong men of America, they don't have the spirit of Yahweh Shai. So you're gonna have that mark over you, that mark from the angels not to kill you, basically. And the Lord is gonna put you through that way. It's gonna be a spiritual journey. Because we know in the end of days, you know, the flesh is not going to be able to save you. It's going to be a spiritual thing. You know, the Lord is going to make a way for you. I'll say it like that. He's going to put that mark on you, just like he protected David, his servant, and we are the house of David. But with that being said, all praise to Yahweh Shai. I hope this was edifying. Stay on fire for the word. Stay on fire for the truth. Keep your hand to the plow. Shalom.